At FedEx, we're making carbon capture research our priority because Earth is our priority. Our goal is to be carbon neutral by 2040. We call it Priority Earth. FedEx, where now meets next.
You're into your shows, right? Well, then listen up. If you have Xfinity Internet, entertainment starts at free with Flex, so you can get really into your shows. Find your favorites faster with just your voice. The Office. From Peacock to HBO Max and Disney Plus, the whole squad's here. The Falcon and the Winter Soldier. Man, he's moving. Xfinity. It's a way better way to watch.
Restrictions apply. Subscriptions required to access streaming services, including Disney Plus. Requires postpaid Xfinity Internet, excluding Internet Essentials. One device included. Additional devices $5 a month.
Lombardi Line on a Sunday as we welcome you in. Memorial Day weekend continues. The most important part of this time of the calendar. We say hi and welcome you in. I'm Patrick Maher, live from the VSiN studios here at the South Point. Michael Lombardi, as we say good morning. Michael, how are you?
I'm doing great, Patrick. Good morning. Happy Memorial Day to you. How are you?
I'm doing well. Do you know of Joe Cardano?
Yeah, sure. Of course. We drafted him in the 5th round. Navy's great long snapper, and he served his country as he played for the Patriots. Tremendous person, tremendous long snapper, has a great career in the NFL.
Yeah, 5th round draft pick 2015, as you mentioned, out of the Naval Academy, which is great for a long snapper, right? But he's a current lieutenant, in the Naval Reserves. He stays ready for action, which is, he had the best quote, because you brought it up yesterday. I hope I could read this to you. When asked if a plane for Belichick and in the NFL is like the military, he said, well, you could take it from a guy who has experience with both, that is a disciplined environment, but in no way is it close to a military environment. So he said, but when you diminish the job that is required of those in the military that put on the uniform every single day and the difficulty and the enormity of what it means to serve and compare it to an NFL job, that's not the case. So I just paraphrased towards the end there, but he's just like, look, Belichick's strict, the military's on a different level.
Yeah, well, when you're in a team environment, you have to have rules. And when you're in a team environment trying to win football games, win baseball games, win basketball games, there has to be standards of excellence that are set that everybody has to adhere to. You know, we can't operate as independent contractors. And so somebody has to lead and organize. And oftentimes, you know, the path to get to where you want to go is the path no one wants to go down. Everybody chooses the path of least resistance. But when you're in the military, there's no choice. You're going. And you're coming with us, and you've got to defend and serve and do the things to protect the country. And that's a much harder job than playing in an NBA game on a Sunday afternoon on Memorial Day weekend.
And there's certainly connections, right, with Bill's father, Steve. I think he coached at Navy for decades, almost.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, the combination of Naval Academy, the West Point, you know, his father had a great relationship with Coach Knight as their days, and I think that's how Coach Parcells got involved with Coach Knight. So there's all this intertwining of really, you know, the ability to take some of the principles that you learned at the academy in terms of leadership. If you asked to me who I thought the player that resonates the most for Bill Belichick, I would say Roger Staubach. He played catch with Roger Staubach on the sidelines. I mean, everything about the person, about a teammate, about being the ultimate competitor lies within Roger Staubach for Coach Belichick. And I think that's an example that he used to transpose itself over into the NFL. Now, we can't, obviously, it's not a military operation, but you have to have standards of excellence that people have to adhere to. Or else, how are you going to win when it gets competitive? How are you going to play at your highest level if you're not working on it every single day? And I think we see that in the playoffs. I think these playoffs have been where the NBA teams have now ramped it up a little bit, and they're more enjoyable to watch. Even though the games may be imbalanced, I think they're more enjoyable to watch because the quality of play by the superstars are much better. Take Donovan Mitchell's game last night. I mean, that was remarkable. You know, Mike Conley's game last night, remarkable. They just were able to do whatever they needed to do to win the game. And when the game got close at the end, they were there to make the plays down the stretch. I mean, to me, that Utah game was exactly what you wanted. Quinn Snyder wanted that game. Got a lead. They rallied back. Grayson Allen hits that 3 to tie the game, and then we go back and forth, back and forth, back and forth. And then mental toughness takes over, and we make the baskets then when it counts the most, and we separate ourselves in the last 2 minutes of the game. That's perfect. That's exactly what we want.
Absolutely. Let's get into those games from yesterday. We'll focus on the 4 today. Of course, the early tip, 1 o'clock your time, Michael, with the Knicks and the Hawks. I think the series most look forward to, just to put a bow on it, I'm glad you brought up Roger Staubach, because Lieutenant Joe Cardona is the second Navy player to win the Super Bowl, which is pretty damn cool as well. Just a few seconds here. We'll take a quick break, come back, and get you caught up on what happened. Yet we always like to look back as a bettor. Whether you're taking notes or not, you should be looking back to look forward. And then we continue with, of course, a big show today. We're going to have Will Hill joining us. Thomas Gable's going to join us. Josh Applebaum, hot off his Tigers victory, is going to join. And we continue coming up right here. It is the Lombardi Line as we say hi. Good morning to you. I'm Patrick Maher, live from the VSiN studios here at the South Point. No mask, Michael, no mask. It is in the, you know what becomes smaller and smaller in the rear view, and that is COVID. You saw that yesterday, the game that we were just discussing in Memphis, over 12,000 fans there. How about the return? You mentioned it. I want you to stick with this, and I'll give you the statistics on what happened yesterday as far as straight up in ATS. But how about the return of Mike Conley back to Memphis?
Well, I mean, you know, look, Utah's an incredible three-point shooting team. I mean, they're the best in the NBA, and they were able to have the best field goal percentage in that. But Conley yesterday was just sensational. I mean, he was remarkable in what he was able to do. I mean, all of them were. I mean, you know, when you watch this, when I'm watching the game, I mean, it's just really, Royce O'Neal was unbelievable. He was 4 for 7 from the three-point line, all in the first half. Bogdanovich, he was unbelievable with his shooting from the three. But Conley, 7 for 10 from the three-point line. Just an incredible game. 27 points, 2 turnovers in 36 minutes. Remarkable. Well done. And I mean, look, they had it. They needed it. I liked watching that game, Patrick. I loved how they could reach down and grab the mental toughness to come and finish that game. I think that was really what we learned. And Memphis is the youngest team in the NBA. They did an offensive rebound like they're capable usually of doing. And, they had a chance at the end. They just couldn't make enough plays towards the end. And, when I'm watching that game, Patrick, I mean, I'm watching it, and I think Morant's sensational. He's tremendous. But then I'm watching Dylan Brooks. And everybody says, you've got to have a lottery pick to get good players, Patrick. Do you know that? If you don't have a lottery pick, you're never going to get a good player. You're never going to get good players if you don't have a lottery pick. How could you? I mean, here's a lottery pick in Jackson, and then there's Brooks. They're both on the same court. Which one would you have said would have been a top 5 pick?
It would have appeared Brooks.
It would appear Brooks, right? It takes talent to evaluate talent. We have to stop this nonsense. You have to have a top 5 pick. You got to have a top 5 pick, or else you're not going to be able to win. Well, I beg to differ with you, if you understand. I mean, you've got to figure out what talent is.
I want to circle back to something you said about the Grizz quickly. The NBA favorites last night on the wood and yesterday on the wood swept the board 4-0 straight up and ATS. The Bucks, of course, cover. The Blazers cover. The 76ers cover. The Jazz cover. So the favorites now improved to 19-7 straight up and 17-9 ATS. They're hitting that over a 65% clip, which is wild. But it's funny you mentioned that about the Jazz, because I wrote this down in my notes while watching the game. Jazz have an answer for everything, always. They made 16.7 three-pointers, which was the best in the league in the regular season. They finished with 19 made yesterday in that postseason game. They were just, and Mitchell had an answer for everything. When they needed Mitchell, they had him there, and that's the difference.
Yeah, I mean, he was unbelievable. I mean, how many times did he get near the rim and finish, with his long arms and his ability to just create the shot on the move, and he gets dribbled. I mean, he didn't shoot well from the three-point line, but once again, not a lottery pick, Patrick. You need a lottery pick to get a great player. You got to have one. If you don't have one, I can remember talking to the guys at the 76ers. It's just a great story. And they all said, when they brought Fultz in for a workout, this is the group that was there before, this group that's currently there. When they brought Fultz in for a workout, it was a predetermined that they were going to trade. They hadn't made the trade yet, but they had it all lined up, And so when they made the decision, they brought him in for the workout. They were so unimpressed with Fultz. But they just got on this bandwagon. They had to keep going with it, right? And they kept getting calls. A bunch of Brett Brown worked for Patino. A bunch of the coaches have been involved with Patino. Patino kept telling him, Donovan Mitchell's the best player. Donovan Mitchell's
he loved him.
He loved him. But here's the problem. Is oftentimes when you get a guy who always loves his players, how do you separate his true love?
True.
If you went to Penn State during the Paterno era, this guy's better than Jack. Everybody was better than Jack Ham. Everybody was better than any linebacker he ever had. So you couldn't really separate. But that's really, instead of trading up for Foles, they traded back and picked Mitchell, who I think was, the 14th pick overall?
Yeah, I think he was.
It's another misconception about you got to have a lottery pick to get good players. Got to have a lottery pick, Patrick. Last night on the court, there's Donovan Mitchell and there's Jackson. Who's the lottery pick?
And, it's interesting with Mitchell, as you mentioned. He wasn't great from the field, but he is that guy. He's clutch. He played just, 29 minutes. Remember, he missed the final 16 games of the regular season with that ankle, and now he comes back, scores 29 points, 10 in the fourth when they needed him most. I also wrote down, Michael, this game is won in the first quarter. So I looked it up after I wrote that down. So the Jazz outscored the Grizz 34-22 in the first quarter. Across the board, the rest of the way, the other three quarters separated by 2 points. So they won it in the first.
They won it in the first, but I think they really wanted it with 4 minutes to go in the game. When that game was tied and we were playing back and forth,
yeah, that's true.
We got it back, and then all of a sudden, I think it was tied at 109.
It was 109-107. The Grizz were up with 4 minutes to play,
and then all of a sudden, the better team took off, and I think that's really that's the answer. They just, Memphis got themselves back in, and look, Memphis is, I believe, they're the youngest team in the NBA. I heard Hubie say that. They're the youngest team. They have such a great future. This is going to benefit them tremendously that they're able to take the best team in basketball toe to toe. And look, you're not going to beat the Utah Jazz when you shoot 31% from the 3-point line and they shoot 45%. You're just not going to win that game.
Yeah, you nailed it, actually, because I wrote it down as well. Utah finished on a 14-2 run. So they wrapped up the game. That was clutch. And just a thought about Memphis. Remember, this is competitive equity they're downloading into their account because they got past Golden State in that play-in on that Friday night, that thrilling overtime game. That's going to – you can speak to this better than I, but that will build some mettle moving forward to Callis as far as getting into the postseason and playing a good Jazz team like this.
No doubt, and I think that really it increases that mental toughness muscle that we all have to work on every single day. And I think that's something, and with Morant and with Conley, you've got pillars, right? They've got Brooks. They've got pillars of their team that now they can go. If you're the general manager of the Grizzlies, you can start building these pieces around these players that you're going to write down their numbers. You're going to write Dylan Brooks' numbers down. He's going to defend the best. He's going to defend the best guard against the other team. So you got a defender there. You got Morant who can create off the dribble, can shoot threes. That three he hit to tie the game was unbelievable. That was 5 feet past the 3-point line. So there's a lot to work with Memphis. Unfortunately, and if Memphis was in the East, they would be something even different. But in the West, it's just a little harder.
It's a good Utah team. Listen, there's a reason they finished the way they did, and they're 15-14.
They know who they are.
They have an identity, and they have a coach that's been there for a bit.
They know who they are, and look, they know exactly what they have to do. They launched 43 three-pointers yesterday.
That's what they do.
43 of them. That's what they do. They know who they are. And Conley's 8 for 16 from the floor, but so he made one other shot that wasn't a three-pointer. Think about that. And so they still got to the line 27 times. You launch 43 three-pointers and you get to the line 27 times. That's pretty good.
Is a 29-point win good? Because that's what happened with the 76ers down in Washington, D.C. Why would we not start with that on a Memorial Day weekend?
My man Will Hill he's tumbling.
You're so annoyed with Will now that you want the 76ers not to do well. I can see what's happening.
I see him falling into the same trap we've all fallen into. I see him getting sucked in. I could see him getting sucked in.
How are we getting sucked in? The bully ball that was being employed by Embiid wasn't good last night. He was spectacular.
They can't guard him. He was great. There's no denying that last night. I can't even complain about it. As much as I love to complain, I can't complain about him. He's 14 from 18 from the floor. He's plus 29. He had 36 of the easiest points you've ever seen. And 36 points in 28 minutes, Patrick.
And dunks. Remember, he was aggressive. Sometimes you get frustrated. I know you do as a 76er fan where he settles. He was dunking he was making a statement. Now, he'll probably change from game to game, but he was making a statement yesterday.
If you're Doc Rivers, what you've got to be able to say to those guys is, look, when we play with this aggressiveness, when Simmons is attacking the rim, when Embiid's attacking the rim, they're hard to play. They're hard matchups. And then I think really at the end of the day, when Danny Green and Steph Curry can make shots, that opens up the whole game. That opens up the entire game for them, and they were. Danny Green was spectacular. He's 5 of 9 from he only took 3-pointers, and I thought Steph Curry was really good too. Steph Curry dribble drive. I mean, he's plus 30 in the game. Both post players, Danny Green and Steph Curry, had the highest plus percentage in the game. Green was plus 32, Curry was plus 30. To me, that they're the guy. They are what makes the 76ers a chance to go as far as they can possibly go, because when they're hitting shots, they're really good.
Correct me if I'm wrong, but it looks like, I know in game 1 and 2, Brooks and the Wiz were throwing doubles at Embiid. It looks like they were trying to single him yesterday. You're not going to stop him with Len and Hachimura. These cats aren't going to stop Embiid right now. No,
and I don't. Can Clint Capella stop him in the next round? I mean, who's going to stop him?
He's in the right mood. Nobody can.
Nobody can, and when they're hitting shots, and you got to take your chances that Danny Green's not going to shoot well. You take your chances that Steph Curry. You take your chances that Simmons is going to be aggressive. He was 0 for 6 in game 1. Game 2 at the 3-point line. Now he was 0 for 3. He hasn't made a free throw shot in 9 attempts. That worries me.
So they covered the 5 easily, obviously, with a 29-point win. Also, we see that number, it crept over the total there late, 132-103 of a closing number of 229.5. So, look, I don't know. I mean,
the Wiz defensively, as good as they are, they're not.
They don't belong here.
They don't, and I think the structure of their team isn't built. It's not really a very good team in terms of design. We make fun of the production, but, in sports, you're in two businesses. You're in the design and the production business, right? If the design is faulty, how can the production be any good? And I think sometimes football teams, their design is poor, and we always blame the production. The coach gets fired. Well, I think in Washington, it's really the design is really poor. The production has been better than the design. Let me say that.
We should, a modern-day Isaiah Thomas, people don't realize Zeke was the toughest dude on the planet. How about Russell Westbrook on a busted ankle? 26 points, 12 boards, 10 assists. It's ridiculous. It's remarkable what he's doing. And on that busted ankle, those 12 boards, that's effort. So you got to give him credit in that respect.
Yeah, but when Bradley Beal's 10 for 26 from the floor, seriously, that they're not going to win. And Simmons is going to plays a big part in that. It's hard to shoot over a 6'11" guy. Neto comes off the bench. They made the Swift. They put Bertrand's in the game to get bigger, to help them out, and Embiid had his best game.
Well, for Embiid backers, you hate to look down and see Simmons. What was he? 0 for 3 from the stripe. Don't like to see that.
That's the problem. That's 0 for 9. That's 0 for 9 in the last 2 games. That's
How
the
is
only
that even possible? Dude, just get in there and grind. I'm telling you.
I think I can get Dominic to make 1 out of 10.
Leo could make 8 out of 10
no
in
doubt.
his sleep.
Yeah, we'll get that rim in there. We could show that. Yeah, there's no doubt.
Just a quick update. The Jazz, you got to lay 2,500 in that series, so they jumped up considerably. The 76ers and Wiz series price off the board. Of course, the 3-0 series lead. The one that has closed. Did you see Milwaukee celebrate after the game? I didn't see him celebrate. Yeah. Milwaukee is business right now, man.
Yeah, I think they are. I think they're, Milwaukee. And that was a game where, Miami gets the lead. It looks like Miami's going to play, and then Milwaukee says, okay, enough. Enough is enough. We're going to take this over. I feel for Pat Riley. What does he do now? What does Pat Riley do now? He's got to come back and reconfigure his team again.
A 120-103 win for the Bucks. You see it. A cover. The rematch was a mismatch from last year's postseason. A 4-0 sweep. No celebration, I mentioned. Giannis with this first ever triple-double in the postseason. Brook Lopez, 25. You mentioned Bryn Forbes, 22. This is, look, they outscored Miami by 24 in the second half. Miami culture needs a little bit of a boost here.
No doubt. Look, they just were I mean, the best game of the series was the first game.
Yeah,
the best game of the series that went overtime. All these other ones have not been to where you need them to be. And, you know, look, Miami scored 103. You think if Miami scores 103, they got a chance to win, right?
You would think.
I mean, they shot 44% from the floor, 33% from the three-point line, but they couldn't stop. I mean, you know, Milwaukee was too good. They couldn't stop them. And Milwaukee only got to the line 18 times in the game. But the big fella finally decided to take over in the second half, had his first triple-double ever, you know, and I didn't even think Milwaukee played their best game. I mean, Brook Lopez was the lead. If I'd have said to you before this, Brook Lopez was going to be the leading scorer, 25 points.
Miami wins.
Yeah, exactly.
Do you think this is – let me ask you something. Do you think it's so – now the Bucks, they're looking at a ton of rest, man. I mean, they won't play at least until next Saturday, of course, Boston or Brooklyn. I'm just curious, do you think that is a benefit in this situation, or you want to keep going from their perspective?
Well, I think Milwaukee's got to figure some things out with DiVincenzo out, how Forbes plays into it, how they want to play their defense, what they're going to do. You know, they know they're probably going to play Brooklyn, right? So they can start getting ready for how they want to handle Brooklyn and see what they do. So I think you got to keep practicing. I don't think this is, yes, you want rest, but I think you got to have conditioning. You need too much time off. You know, the other team's playing, they're in better condition than you. You can't lose your conditioning at this time of the year because you can't catch up.
Okay. The one game we didn't discuss as we try to take some nuggets from yesterday's games. I didn't mean to do the pun, but the Nuggets and Trailblazers will come back with that, a 115-95 win for the That's the ultimate. For a bettor, you should learn the term zigzag because that series is the ultimate zigzag. I got a couple of things coming up as far as the NFL. By the way, we're going to have Wes Reynolds live from the Indy 500, which is pretty damn cool. I've got some stuff coming up. Jay Cutler has thoughts on Justin Fields. I wonder if Michael agrees. What else did I have? So a lot NFL-wise I want to talk. The Eagles, Michael's there in Philadelphia. Well, he's not in Philly. He's in Jersey, but it's kind of the same thing where they are. Are the Eagles going to land Julio Jones? That we shall find out. And also, I want to get into the culture in Jacksonville. Michael's great with culture building. We'll discuss as we continue along. It's a Sunday on an extended Memorial Day weekend. Thank you to those that protect and served and continue to. We come back, we continue. It is the Lombardi Line on a Sunday. It's VSiN, the Sports Betting Network.
Mattress Warehouse knows that buying a mattress can be tough. With so many choices, where do you start? Introducing Bed Match, a patented diagnostic system that determines your pressure points and recommends the mattresses that are best for your individual sleep needs. And it's found only at Mattress Warehouse. Come try Bed Match at a Mattress Warehouse near you. Visit sleephappens.com for locations and get free next day delivery on select purchases.
Mattress Warehouse, sleephappens.com.
Geico knows there are many reasons why you ride. From the exciting adventure of the daily commute to the peace of mind that Geico always has your back with 24/7 access to claim service and legendary customer service. But Pamela Mund had one reason in particular.
My skin is extremely averse to most fabrics, except for the soft, buttery feeling of leather. Thankfully, I found my clan of leather lovers in the biking community. It's been life-changing.
Geico Motorcycle. 15 minutes could save you 15% or more.
Stephanie, thank you. Basketball, hockey, baseball games every day of the week. BetMGM Sports Nevada, premier sports betting app, has everything for you. Visit BetMGM.com. I'm telling you, we were discussing this before the show. It's the best one out there. The Strip has, you bring your state-issued ID to any MGM property here, and you can be betting within minutes. Okay, you got to be 21 years or older. If you have a gambling problem, please call 1-800-522-4700. Got a ton of NFL news, as we do on the Lombardi Line. I'll keep it for about 35 minutes. We've got Will Hill joining us. We've got live from the Indy 500, our buddy Wes Reynolds. Michael, the Nuggets at Trailblazers, that's a zigzag series, which is now tied up at 2s. I'll give you the updated series price. A 115.95 winner there in Portland for the Trailblazers. What'd you take from this fourth game in the series?
Well, you know, I thought it was just really in the second quarter to the third quarter. I mean, the Trailblazers just dominated. They got the lead at halftime. You know, they at the end of the first quarter, they're up by 8, and then they're up by 10 at halftime. They go in at 10 by halftime. And then when they start the second half, you know, the Nuggets just really wilted. I mean, I think Malone said it best. His team didn't compete to where they needed to compete to the level. They got outscored badly in the third quarter. The game was over with 6 minutes to go in the third quarter. They just put a whooping to them. I mean, C.J. McCollum was getting to the rim, and they didn't really have a backbone to come back and fight. I was disappointed with the Nuggets in their ability. I mean, Austin Rivers, who was so good in the first game, you know, game 2, which led them back, didn't. But we saw yesterday, we said, look, take the Trailblazers because we think there'll be a reverse to the mean. And it was. They were 29% from the three-point line yesterday. And that's what happened, and they couldn't make it up. And Portland just really dominated the game. I mean, Norman Powell was great. I thought Norman Powell was the difference in the game. And Nurkic was really good, too. I mean, he was able to take away the center. You know, he handled Jokic. And, you know, look, when you get any other play out of the Trailblazers besides McCollum and Lillard, you really did. I mean, Lillard only had 10 points, and it was a 20-point win. Think about that, Patrick.
I think that's a tremendous point that I want to set on for a second quickly. This is a zigzag series, so if you bet the Blazers game 1 winner, if you bet the Nuggets game 2 winner, you know, and then it's just been zigzagging left and right here. So we take a look. Series tied up at 2s. You mentioned Norman Powell. He had 29 points. He was 11 of 15 from the floor and had 4 3-pointers. That is the difference. I'm glad you brought up Nurkic with his defense on Jokic, but the difference is the ancillary scorers. Like, if Jokic doesn't go nuts and Austin Rivers doesn't have this rebirth, you know, he had 8 points last night after the great game 3. Without Murray, this Nuggets team's in trouble.
Yeah, and they didn't have the fire. They didn't have the competitive nature in their play. It was really disappointing. I mean, you know, it's the thing what you always want to see from your team is, which is what I liked about the 76ers last night, is they took the game over. They knew they were better. They didn't give Washington any chance. And the Nuggets, when they got punched in the mouth in the second quarter, they didn't respond. They didn't respond. Malone called timeout. They were trying, and there was just, he kept whipping, and they couldn't go. He kept trying to hit the horse to get him to go, and the horse wasn't running. And I think the Nuggets are going to go back to Denver limping and say, look, if we don't raise our level of play, you know, if we don't score more than 95 points against a team defensively that's not very good, then it's really our own fault.
Yeah, and I'd like to correct myself now that I think about the series. Games 2 and 3, of course, that was the Nuggets, and then the Blazers, a big win, a resounding win by 10. 95. Yeah, 20? But you're better with math than I am. 115.95
yeah,
is the best
not
way
really.
to put it.
But look, I mean, if you're Denver, you know, Malone, you give your team, you talk to them, say, look, we got to compete better. You know, we can't, you know,
but
we
where
got to
are they going to get
Lillard.
it from? I mean, if it's not an Austin
I don't know.
Rivers,
I think that's
you know what I mean? Like, that's their
I think that's the problem. Yeah, I think that's the problem. I mean, look, if you're the Trailblazers, your best player was 1 for 10 from the field. You know, he's 1 for 6 for three-point line.
And Porter Jr. has been a big – he's faded. And you expected – he had a great end to the regular season, Porter Jr.
But I think the regular season was tailor-made for Porter, where he could do everything he wanted to do without having to play any defense. It was perfect for him. Where's the competitive fire in the kid? That's what you worry about. Where's the competitiveness in the Denver Nuggets team? And I think – I'm not saying it. Malone's saying it. Their coach is saying it. It's a problem. It's disappointing. I mean, they got taken to the woodshed yesterday. Now, here's the good news. They got 3 games left in the series. You got 2 of them in Denver.
Yeah.
We'll find out what they're made of. We'll find out what they're made of on whenever they play, Monday night or Tuesday, whatever they play.
And the updated price, by the way, the Trailblazers tied up at 2s are a favorite of $1.30. The Nuggets coming back the other way, plus 110. I thought James Salinas, I want to just maybe later in the show we can recognize. I thought James Salinas had great advice for betting Game 4. It's a little trick that I want to come back and discuss. But yeah, so it's tied up at 2. Very good series. Another good series, the Knicks and Hawks. We'll get to that coming up in just a bit. Next, Wes Reynolds live from the Indy 500 here on the Lombardi Line. It's VSiN, the Sports Betting Network. Baseball season, full swing. It's a perfect time to work on cash and tickets every day, and our VSiN experts give you all the tools to make the most of every baseball bet. Live odds, analysis for every game. Also, if you're a daily member, you get free bets and emails every day. You don't have to do the work. We'll do it for you. Start your free trial now at vsin.com/subscribe. That's vsin, vsin.com/subscribe. Welcome you back. Happy Memorial Day weekend. Of course, that means the Indy 500. There's Michael Lombardi. I'm Patrick Maher, live from the VSiN studios here at the South Point. We're going to head out to the Indy 500 and talk to our buddy Wes Reynolds, of course, Point Spread Weekly and VSiN host. Hi, Wes. How's it going out there, man?
Good morning, fellas. We are on the ground here at the Indianapolis Motor Speedway. Very cool day, mid-60s, perfect weather, sun is out, no rain in sight, so ready for a good race.
That is awesome.
Wes, let me ask.
On the
really
site
awesome.
there, Michael. I love it.
Yeah, I love the fact that he's there. So is the money coming in on Scott O'Neil? Is that what's happening? Is it all coming in on Scott Dixon in terms of this, because of the pole position and because of his last year's performance?
Yeah, I think so, Michael. I mean, really, he's the best IndyCar driver of this generation. One more win would tie him with Mario Andretti for second all-time overall IndyCar win. He's the best driver. He's got the best car. He's got arguably the best race strategist in Mike Hall calling a race on the box. So a lot of the money's coming in on him. But I think with this field, there's about 12 to 15 cars, driver combinations that wouldn't shock me if they won the race. But I do think he's probably the clearest favorite here in several years. I'm seeing him at about 7-2. He's been as high as 4-1, but he's the obvious favorite for the right reasons. I mean, he went out there on Friday on carb day practice after we last talked, and third lap in the stint busts out a 2:28 in race trim. So that car is ready to go. So the Ganassi cars, Chip Ganassi Racing, which is Scott Dixon, Alex Palou, Tony Kanaan, Marcus Ericsson, they got some quick cars. Okay, so this is the fourth time in Dixon's career that he won pole position for the Indy 500. The green flag's going to drop today. I think 12:45 Eastern time, so 9:45 early here on the West Coast. I want to get off of Dixon, and I want to find, you mentioned 12 of the 33 starters have a chance here. If I'm off Dixon and I'm trying to find some value, where are we headed there, Wes? Yeah, I think if you're going with the teammate angle, you might want to look at Alex Palou, who's 14-1. Now, he's only 24, Spaniard. He's a second-year driver, but this guy is mature beyond his years. And really, Patrick, when we were talking the other day, kind of the glory years of this race, when we had Mears and Andretti and Rahal and Fittipaldi and Al Unser Jr., and you had all these big stars, this is probably actually the best group of young driver talent that we've seen in IndyCar racing in 25 years, and Palou is one of those guys. There's two young 20-somethings, 20 and 21 age respectively, Rinus VeeKay and also Colton Herta, who are starting on the front row with the 40-year-old Scott Dixon. So youth is going wild here, and you've had 4 guys in their 20s win races already. We've had 5 different winners in 5 races so far on the season. So the young guys, they're not bashful now. They don't have the experience, but they've got the bravery and they've got the talent to potentially compete with the big guy.
How about hometown hero Connor Daly? He's a Hoosier. You know he's going to be the Hoosiers' pick, the home pick. Do you think he has a chance to start? I know he's going to start in the back at 19th, but do you think he has a chance to make the home crowd proud? I do, Michael, and he resides up here in Noblesville. Of course, his dad, Derek Daly, was a longtime IndyCar racer, also a Formula One driver, and also in broadcasting. And Connor is with Ed Carpenter Racing. Ed Carpenter and Rinus VeeKay are his teammates who are starting up closer to the front, but Connor went real quick. He was top 5 in terms of the carb day practice speed, which was the final practice here at the Speedway. So the other guys, I think, are going to copy his setup.
he's got a fast car, and he's brave and he's daring, just like his dad was. So he'd be a popular win. I think he could go to the front because they're the Chevrolet team that has found speed. The other Chevrolet teams hadn't really found speed until Friday when the Penske's finally showed something.
Give me a matchup you're focused on here, Wes. I know you've been digging into the matchups for the Indy 500. Is there one that stands out to you?
Not really one, but I think if you don't feel you have the value on Scott Dixon to win the race at 3-1 or 7-2, somewhere around that, maybe focus on some matchups with Dixon.
Okay.
And maybe that's going to get you paid instead of maybe going for the outright win, and then maybe find somebody down the board like a Pelot or a Pato O'Ward, guys that you can get from 10 to like 15-1 to win this thing.
Yeah, Dixon, I just looked up over Herta. He's a 185 favorite, so every book has different matchups. You can find them. Go ahead, Michael.
Well, Ed Carpenter's an option at 25-1. Scott McClellan, at 30-1, he's another option. I think there's certain things you could play together. But let me ask this. The winner of this race will be someone who does what, Wes, in the race? I mean, obviously he goes the fastest and all that, but I mean, what is the characteristics that typically made Mario Andretti so successful, what's made Scott Dixon so successful? Is it a driving race? Is it a machine race? Is it a field race? Tell me what it is that wins this all the time.
It varies from year to year, Michael, but obviously quick pit stops, don't have mistakes in the pits, and be able to save fuel. And that's why Scott Dixon is such a master at this sport, because he's the best fuel saver in the sport. And really, what you don't want to do, you don't always want to necessarily be on the lead here because you're going to be a sitting duck with that aero package. So it's not really leading the whole race. It's leading the right time. So don't be afraid to take a wheel and get a tow here. You kind of saw that last year when Dixon led most of the race, and that's what Takuma Sato did, just kind of sucked off the wheel and then had it for the last 10 laps.
Okay, he's doing an amazing job. He's got coverage all day, of course, live from Indianapolis Speedway there, Indianapolis 500 coming up later today. I mentioned 12:45 East Coast time. We're going to have that green flag drop. The favorite son of Indiana since Benjamin Harrison is Wes Reynolds. And enjoy the race, my friend, Wes. Thank you, buddy. Appreciate you.
Thank you, Wes.
Fellas.
Appreciate
Have a great weekend.
He had a good phone connection there at the race as well. We like to see that.
Nice,
Stephanie does, I know for sure. Are you going to get into the race?
Yeah, I would love to watch it. Absolutely. I mean, it's raining another day. I mean, we're building an arc. I don't think it'll be done by the end of the day, but it's going to continue to rain.
Is it still bad there? Is it still raining?
Oh, yeah, it's horrible. No, it's horrible. It's bad. It's terrible. It's got to be one of the worst Memorial Day weekends weathers I've seen here in a long, long time. And it's cold. It's not even like, it's not like wet. It's not warm rain. It's cold rain. I mean, we're lucky it's in the 40s because we'd have snow if it was a little colder.
Well, at least it's tropical in Michigan where my family is. I called my mom yesterday. She said it was 44. Good state.
Yeah, Keep
living there.
No, I'm crying. Yeah, thank you.
I'm like, Shorty, you're going to be 70. Get the hell out of there while you still can. All right?
Yeah,
how many good years you got left, girl? All right. Well, happy Memorial Day. Hope it warms up over there. It's going to be 90 here today. NBD. Coming up next, I want to see you fight with Will Hill. That's going to happen. He's the general manager of the Lakers, and the fan club he leads is the 76ers.
To show you how easy it is to file a claim with Geico, we hired a soap opera star.
Gracious me, my car has storm damage and I've had to file a claim. Could it possibly get worse? Will my claims team leave me for someone else? Someone less intense?
No. Actually, when you file a claim with Geico, you get your own dedicated claims team who promises to stay with you throughout the process.
Oh, I've never known such loyalty. I can't wait for the second season.
Geico. Great service without all the drama.
Your time for real summer fun is here. So ditch the boredom and hit up your local Mini dealer, because the Mini Summer of Drive event is happening now. Get a new Mini Cooper hardtop 2-door starting at $229 per month for a 36-month low-mileage lease with $2,999 due at signing. Visit miniusa.com/east for details. That's miniusa.com/east and see what it's like to drive something this fun at the Summer of Drive event with Mini.
Do you want a free $100? Yes, of course you do. Go to BetMGM.com today. If you bet $1, you win $100 if the Lakers or Suns hit a 3. You have to use the bonus code VSIN100. Okay, so again, BetMGM.com, first users. Use a $1 bet, my goodness, $100. Lakers, Suns, VSIN100 code. Gambling problem, call 1-800-522-4700 in Colorado, Nevada, Virginia. 1-800-270-7117 for help in Michigan. 1-800-GAMBLER in Jersey, Pennsylvania, West Virginia. 1-800-BETS-OFF in Iowa, Tennessee. Call or text Redline 800-889-9789. Indiana, call 1-800-9-WITH-IT. You know, it's interesting with Will Hill, who's killed it on the Lombardi line, as we say. Good morning and welcome back. I'm Patrick Maher. He's Michael Lombardi. William Hill is, of course, he's a Point Spread Weekly contributor. He's a regular here on the Lombardi line. He's done a great job, but you hate to see him be a turncoat. He used to be a Lakers fan. Now he's a 76er fan, which is interesting.
No, he's a money fan. He's a money fan.
Wait, snap. Is that an old, disgusting 76er uni? What's going on there? Is that the mid-90s? That's gross.
It's the
2000s.
202, Pat. 2000s, yes.
Yeah. Hi, Will.
Hey, when you take the Sixers 12-1 to win the East, you can afford to buy a few jerseys. I mean, come on,
they won the East. Congratulations. I didn't realize it was over.
We're 9 wins away from a finals, 5 wins away from being able to hedge the hell out of that thing, which I'll probably do. And look, they look so good. It's too bad you're back, Lombardi, because this was an Embiid love fest the past couple weeks. We were writing poems about him. I think Patrick wept about him one time.
Yes.
It's just been an Embiid love fest. It's too bad you have to ruin the parade.
I love the artwork in the back. I love the artwork in the back of your set.
Well, that's from his daughters, who he doesn't pay attention to because all he does is gamble and text about gambling. Let's be honest.
I love it.
That's personal.
I mean, I got it. That's Memorial Day. You know, I mean, look. I mean, are you confident they can beat the Hawks? Are you confident with that?
Absolutely. Hawks will win a game, maybe two. I mean, the Hawks have some weapons, and we'll get to that game in a minute. But I just think the Sixers are much better on defense. They'll win that game. They'll win that series in either 5 or 6, and then get the winner of the Nets-Bucks, which should be a hell of a series. So, yeah, I'm confident.
And what do you think? Let's take a step forward. And what do you think of the Nets-Bucks series?
I like the Bucks. I think they'll kill them on the glass. I think they got 3 guys that can really defend. I think Giannis can do a decent job on Durant. I think that's going to be a great series. I think it's important for the Nets to win and get some rest because the Bucks are resting up, game planning. And, the more you play, if you're the Nets, the more bad things can happen. Durant can turn an ankle, Harden can get hurt. So you want to get this over with if you're Nets. But that should be a hell of a series. That might be the best series of the playoffs coming up is the Nets-Bucks.
The Hawks made 5 free throws and won by, 10 in Game 3, which is it's a bad sign for Knicks fans and backers. Let's start there. You like the Hawks laying the points today. Starts early, laying 5 here.
Yeah, it's a great point about the free throws. I like Atlanta. The Knicks shot 30 free throws. The Hawks shot 8, and the Hawks won crazy. Going away. Yeah, it really is, especially in their home building to do that. I mean, one thing, if you get that discrepancy on the road, but do it at home is crazy. I just think the Knicks, they're outgunned here. The Hawks have more weapons. They have more shooters. Gallinari, but Bogdanovich, Young is obviously fantastic. The Knicks don't really have anyone that can contain him. And to me, the Knicks, their 2 best players are Randall and the home crowd at MSG, and this game is on the road, and Randall shot terribly. I just think it's tough for the Knicks in the playoffs. It's one thing if you fly in, you play the Knicks, you fly out, you play somebody else. You don't get that attention to detail in the game plan. This is just a really limited team, and we keep going back to the over-under 22 wins before the year. I mean, it's remarkable that they're here. It's remarkable that they're a 4 seed, but they are completely overmatched. And I like Atlanta today. I think the Knicks are, 50-50 to get another game in this series. Atlanta's led all 3 games by double digits. And not really an X's and O's point, but I'm curious what you guys think of Gallinari's hair. I think, Patrick and I could never pull it off.
Michael
but I think
could.
if the Sixers go to the finals,
I could never pull that off.
Can we show his hair? Yeah, I think if
that's a straight up mohawk, like 90s, 80s when I was growing up. What we wanted mohawk. Will, that's insane.
Yeah, there's no. I don't have enough to pull that off. I would have a lot of. That would be like, it would look bunkers on a golf course if I tried to do that. That would be bad, So
you like to sandbag your Sixers. How about if they go to the finals? You shave your haircut. We get barbershop out of retirement, and we get that look. We get Millie to approve it. Why not?
Hey, by the way, did you see he wasn't overly impressed with the Sixers yesterday down in Washington?
They only won by 30.
I didn't say I wasn't overly impressed. I said going into the game, I was impressed that they played with mental toughness. I think that's ultimately what Utah did last night, to me, is what I always want to see from them. The game makes a rally. They got a lead. They come back. Denver didn't do it. I mean, that's ultimately what you're trying. I think Milwaukee showed me a lot by getting behind to Miami. And then coming in and being able to, come back and win the game and sweep. I mean, they could have easily said, well, we'll just take it home. I thought Milwaukee showed mental toughness. That's all I'm looking for, Patrick. I'm not looking at, no, I'm not a hater. I'm just looking for some mental toughness, that's all.
He's a realist. When it comes to his 76ers, he's a realist.
True or not true, Lombardi? I texted you last Sunday before the series started. I said the Sixers are going to sweep them. They're going to kill them. It's a terrible matchup for the Wizards. And, Patrick, you should have seen the text I got. Every time there was a 5-1 run by the Wizards, Beal would get an and one, and I get a text about how I'm an idiot, and the Sixers were going to
No, I'm convinced. I'm convinced he is, in a sadistic way, pulling against his Sixers so he can watch you burn, my man.
He needs Dr.
I'm
Melfi.
just
He's
telling
got
you,
some self-loathing things going on. Yeah,
I've lived through this for too long. I've been taken there, and I've gotten disappointed, and I don't want to get disappointed again. I'd be very honest. I wasn't feeling comfortable about it. My son Mick said to me last night, "Can we change the channel and watch something else?" When we were up by 20, no, I got to. Typically, they could blow this lead. I've seen it before. I've seen it.
Hey, this ain't Eric Snow, all right? What'd you guys do?
Yeah.
Go to Dives, Dugouts, and Burgers or whatever that's called on the food channel?
No. Where could we go? It was, we couldn't go. But Chinese.
Well,
food,
Mr. Hockey, Mr. Baseball, you had plenty to go there.
I got my glove here too, by the way. I just want you to know. I brought it in. I'm ready to go. You want to play some hoops?
I got it. I'm ready to go.
Yeah, exactly.
Gosh,
I'm ready to go. You didn't say a darn word about my Cubs pick yesterday.
Dude, I can't keep up with what I'm supposed to say. You tell me. You text me. I'll jock you.
When I win, a Cubs win, what was it, 10-2? Not that we were, how about that, Will? What do you think about that? We got any baseball picks for us today, Will?
If I had to give you a baseball pick, I think under Woodruff and Scherzer, under 6.5. That should be a really good pitching.
That was good on the fly.
And then what else do you like today? Talk to us about the basketball. What else do you like? What about your Suns? What about your Lakers? Are you happy with them?
My best bet here would probably be the Clippers. I think the Mavs blew their chance. They're up 2-0. They're up 30-11. You know what it reminded me of, Patrick? The Dodgers were down 3-1 to the Braves, and the Braves were up in Game 5 2-0 and had a bunch of chances to blow that game open, bases loaded. Before you know it, that game is tied. The Dodgers win the next few and win the series. I just think the Mavs let them off the mat. And I think you have to be concerned. I mean, the Mavs, they shot over 50% from three. They got more offensive rebounds than the Clippers. They've shot over 50% from three all three of these games, and the Clippers are still breathing. I don't think you can shoot that well from three this whole series. Porzingis has looked unplayable at times. I think you get the Clippers even money to win this series. Doncic is beat up. I think they're asking him a lot in terms of carrying the load, playing a lot of minutes. I think the Clippers win this game. I think the winner of this game will win this series. I think that's I would lay a pretty big price on that. And I think the Clippers win this game. I think the Mavs really missed their opportunity to knock them out.
Do you think there's something wrong with Doncic? I mean, he said he was like in the second half. I couldn't tell watching him play that there was something bothering him. Did you see it, Will?
There's something wrong with all these guys. I mean, that's what makes it so hard to handicap Lakers Suns. I mean, Paul's got the shoulder. LeBron, one half, he can't really move. The next, he looks like the old LeBron. He's only shot 9 free throws in the whole series. Davis, every time he hits the floor, he's wincing. He's grabbing his ankle, his knee. He gives you a heart attack as a Laker fan. Every time he goes down, he's grabbing something. It's just there's so many injuries. This has been really a war of attrition this season. It's been kind of a disaster just in terms of the rest and the injuries. So, yeah, I mean, Doncic didn't look comfortable. Those missed free throws really killed them down the stretch. He was But then he would hit a 40-foot 3. So, I mean, it's hard to know what's what, but, he clearly doesn't look 100%.
Josh is enjoying the segment. He sent a great picture. I didn't know if it was Johnny Bench or Michael Lombardi. We'll post it coming up in a bit with his.
Hey, we have wedding props to get to with Josh. Odds to be invited to the wedding. I think you guys are favorites. I'm probably a little bit of an underdog. We got some wedding props. I'm going over on the years with Josh and Elise, but we got a lot of wedding props.
Well, we're trying to figure out the big bet here. The future play is whether or not it's going to be me or Michael best man. Lombardi's kind of intimidating, so I'm guessing it's going to be him. And you and I are going to be flower boys, Will.
Yeah.
DraftKings got to put up some props. We're trying to bet on this. I mean,
what about Dominic and Leo?
Dominic and Leo.
How'd they not get?
They're going to be in the mix. By the way, Clippers down 2-1 in the series. They're favored, but 115. It's slight, but the Mavs essentially
they've been favored every game, Patrick. They've been favored every game. I mean, the book doesn't believe it. The books like Will Hill. They don't believe the Mavericks can win this thing.
I didn't bet it, but Friday afternoon I saw the Clippers were 15-1 to win the whole title. Probably should have bet that. That was probably a really good number. I think it's still there for them. I mean, Utah struggled with Memphis. The Lakers are hobbled. I don't think, Denver's missing Murray. The Blazers don't have enough defense. This is still kind of there for the Clippers.
I can't give Michael too hard of a time because you're such a sandbagger when it comes to your Lakers as well. You're going to play the under here?
Yeah, they can't make a shot. The defenses looked great. I mean, when Drummond's in the game, they
were amazing in the they just turned it on. It was unbelievable. Absolutely.
But I mean, you could build a house with all the bricks they're shooting. I mean, they just can't make a shot. I think Drummond pushes Davis out to the perimeter. It makes him a jump shooter. It really makes the offense ugly. I prefer when Gasol's in there. I like his passing, his IQ. I think he kind of gets the offense organized. But it looks ugly a lot of times offensively. But, I think they're great on defense. I think, you could sag off a Paul if he's not 100%. So I look for another under, kind of a clunky game here. So I like the under.
The Lakers are so good, by the way. Their backcourt depth, their size, Michael, they're good.
And look, I mean, Schroeder, he sets the pace. I mean, he was the aggressor in Game 3. He took that game, and when he plays like that, the Lakers are hard to play.
All right. Last one. Nets, you're laying the wood?
Yeah, I think like we talked about before, just a sense of urgency. Not that they're going to lose this series, but get some rest. Get ready for the Bucks. The more you play, the more bad things can happen. I was shocked. I mean, I'm never shocked when a team down 2-0 wins a game, but when I first saw I scored the other night, Friday night, it was 19-4 Nets. I figured that was the series. Give the Celtics credit for coming back. I think the Nets will roll them today.
What is Steph laughing at? Turn around. What's the name on the back of your jersey?
I think this is an Iverson. This is a prop for the show. This is just a prop. And like I said, when you're betting the Sixers, you got plenty of money.
Did you steal it this morning from somebody you don't know what you're wearing? What the hell just happened?
I mean, come on. I come prepared. I'm ordering trophies, Sixers jerseys. I come prepared for the show.
Doing television stuff. I mean, he's got programming ideas. I mean, the man does it all.
Hey, Marquis.
Plus thank you. Thank you for passing Connecticut. Thank you for passing Connecticut Sports.
Marquis, go to vsin.com for the next hour.
Introducing touch-free payments from PayPal, a safe way for your customers to pay. Simply download the PayPal app and display your own unique QR code for your customers to scan. Whether you're a market seller,
I'll take 2 tomatoes and a cucumber,
poodle pamperer, piano tuner, or plumber, signing up to accept touch-free payments for your business is easy. Touch-free QR code payments. Shop safe with PayPal.
While we all desperately ached for escapism, Bridgerton, the Shondaland smash on Netflix, came streaming along. Now we wait for season 2. But in the meantime, you can hear how this show came to life with the cast, the production team, and the creators of Bridgerton. Listen to Bridgerton, the official podcast, on the iHeartRadio app, Apple Podcasts, or anywhere you get your favorite shows.